Hello everyone, and as you requested in the previous video, I will show you more about microservices in Node.js, and not only microservices in Node.js, but also will create two services, one with products with SQL database and the second with no SQL database. So we'll have SQLite and NoSQL MongoDB as always. So without further ado, let's start coding. First of all, we need to run our terminal, and inside our terminal, we'll make direction of two services. First will be user service, and second will be product service. Okay, we've got two services. First of all, we'll stick with the user services. It will be easier for us, and we will only check if the user is logged in. So first, go to the user service, and when you are inside, npm init-y, wait a few seconds. We've got initialized our node application, and here we need only to install some dependencies. We'll need npm install and express and mongoose as the second dependency. And then press enter, wait a few seconds, and when it's installing, just create the app.js, which will be the root application for our user service. And how they will work, I will show you in a minute. First of all, we need to get the express application. Express equals require express. Come on. The second thing, we need to cast mongoose equals require mongoose. And with that knowledge, we need to create our express application and then app.use express.json to be able to read the request from the user. Okay, for the next part, we'll need the MongoDB, and the easiest part to it to go to mongodb.com and here create the account and copy and paste everything. I will just show you in the links below the video and make it 1,000 times. It's quite easy how you can do that. I will just copy and paste. That's the connection string to my URL of database, which later on I will work with. And whenever we are working with mongoose, of course, we need a schema, const user schema equals new mongoose.schema. And with that knowledge, we need username, which will be the string, and password, also it will be the string. And to use that schema, we need to create the model. So here, mongoose.model, and here is user and user schema as a second parameter. Okay, whenever we got our database connected, we need to create something more. So in our case, we need to create the routes. We'll need post route, and so we'll need two post routes. First, to create that user, the second to log in the user, and then check if the user exists. It's very simple. It's not how you should do in your real application. It's just to show you how the microservices work in the real way. So here, async function, request response, and here we are going cast username and password. That's the parameter that we need, and the request.body. That's what we are going to get from username and password. Then, of course, user equals new user, and here username, the second parameter will be password. So we've got our user, and we need to get a try catch block, and with try, we need to check. I've got async here, await user.save, and we are saving to database, and then response the status, send user to our ourselves, so as a response. And if something goes wrong, we'll just set the status for 400 and send the error. I just call it error or error that message. So that's how we create the user. We are getting data, we assigning the data, we're saving the data. That's all. The next part that we need to do is, of course, to log in the user. So login, and here we need async function request response as before, and here we are going to get also username and password from the user, from the request and the body. Then we need try catch block, and here we'll log in our user. So to login user, we first need to check if the user exists. So that's why we create variable user and await user that find one. And here we are going to check if there's someone with the username and password that we provide. So we are not decrypting it, nothing in that matter. We are creating very asecure application. So if there is no user, we'll just return the response of status, for example, 404, and send user not found. And with that, if something go okay, so response that sent, we'll send the message user logged in. And that's all that we need. And of course, we need to handle our error, response.status 500, and send it to our database, to ourselves as a response, error.message. And the last one is app.get. So we need to get if there is a user with the specific ID that we will just provide in our product services, and request response there will be only thing that we need as well. We are getting ID from request.params, so from that part, that ID. Then we are going to get the try catch block, and here we are going to check if there is a user, find by ID, and ID we provide over there. And if there is no user, we'll just copy and paste that response, that status 404 user not found. And if there is a user, we'll just send him as a response to manipulate the data with our products. And if something go wrong, of course, 500, send error.message, and we are good to go to create our port. For example, it will be 3001 because the second application needs to be running in the same time. And we are going to get the port. And here, console.log, user service is running on port. Okay, I will just create right in that way, so we know that everything works as it should. We can, of course, check if the data is working as it should. And to check if it's working, I will just go Node, app.js, and something go wrong. Okay, I'm the user service, cannot find module, app.js. Here. Nope. I need to be here. Okay, right now it should work. And it's working, our server is working. And in the meantime, when our server is working and we are happy, we need to get the product. So over there, we go to the product-service. Remember that our user service is working from the time. And here we need to go there. And here we need to, first of all, also we'll create app.js to stick with it. We'll need npm init-y to initialize our Express Node application. And of course, we'll install Express SQLite 3 to handle our SQL data. So we will connect the two databases, so NoSQL and SQL, Axios, and that's all. Axios, we need to handle our requests from the database that we are going to send as the user, only in that manner. Okay, first of all, as before, we need to initialize our Express application. Come on. The second thing, SQLite 3, and we'll need SQLite 3 that verbose, and we need also Axios from require.axios, and we need to initialize our application. Oh, come on, how could you? So app.use, and as before, express.json to handle our JSONs. So whenever it's going to be installing, it takes some time. I need, first of all, to initialize my database. So const database, and how you can do that, it's very simple. You create new SQLite 3 that database, and here, as a first argument, file name will be the file with the name that we would like to have. So it will be, for example, in our case, products. You can name as you would like to, but the extension of DB has to stay the same. SQL3 that open, and we need read write. Also, we need SQLite 3 that open and create. And that's the argument that we've got from the SQL3 database. And if there is an error, we'll make some callbacks. And if there is an error, we'll just console.error.message, and also .log connected to the SQL DB. DB.run, we need to create the table, so create the way that we handle and preserve and store our data. If not exist, come on. Okay, products ID should be integer, primary key, and auto increment, so it will just automatically increment. Name will be text, description also will be text, and we'll just get the user ID, which will be the string. So as you may know or don't know, the MongoDB create the whole ID of the validators like law, and that's the ID of the user that we have to handle. That's why we are handling it as a string. Okay, so we created our database with that, and we need just right now one thing, because I will just show you how you can add products with some verification using external application that we create. So add post, it will be product, it will be async request response, and here we are going to create cast, user ID, name and description, and we'll just get it from request.body. Whenever we've got our request, oh come on, okay, we need to handle it with try catch block with error, and oh come on, and here as a try we'll just get cast user response, and it will be await access.get, and we are getting the response from the user ID that we will have provided in our application. In our case, it will be very easy to mention and to manage Postman requests. So HTTP, we are getting to localhost 3001 and user, and I will make template string. Just I will change over there and over there, going back there, and here user ID will be passed from our requested body. And we need to check if there is some data. So if user response, that data exists. And it is that, so we need to get a status of 401 and send user not where, well, not exists. It will be better for my spelling. And if there is everything okay, so user exists, our verification go okay, we need to be that run. So we are creating that command, so we are getting the query. And here we are going to run the following command. Insert into products. So the products is the table that we just created. And we need name, we need in the description, and the last thing we need user ID. ID like that with values, and here we'll make question marks 3 times because we are going to pass 3 data. And here, after we created that SQL query string, we need to create the callback with some arguments. Our arguments need to be in the same order. So name will be the name that will be passed from our requested body. The description will be the same, and user ID will stick the same as well. And function with error handling of the first will just, if there is an error, return with that status 500, send error message, and if everything's okay, in another way, we need to res the status 201, send, and status with smaller status will be sent with the ID with this. Oh, come on, with this, the last ID is the ID that we just created over there. And whenever we run our application, everything will go okay, and we'll add it's okay. But whenever something go wrong inside our try-catch block, we'll just handle it by just, for example, I didn't have anything. Oh, I'll copy that code over there. I don't need over there here. And as the message, I will send error in adding product. And the last thing that I need to do is const port, and it will be 3000 because 3001 is used over there. Const port. Const port. App that listen. We'll just preserve port. And as the working port will be products working on plus port. And here, as before, we need to node app.js, and of course something go wrong, blah 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 blah, double S, not triple S. Okay, auto increment, there's some typo. And okay, SQLite is incomplete. So whenever I just create our database, so we need to check create table. If not exists, products, that's the name. And here we are going to get the ID, integer, primary key, auto increment, name text, description text, and also is the string. Okay. So what's the error? Yeah, maybe. Oh, here. That's okay. That's okay. And our database is working. And to work with our database to see if everything's working as it should, we need some kind of extension whenever we are not creating the get from the database. So in our case, go to extension, you need SQLite to just get that extension. And then we need to go to SQL Open Database and open our database. You'll have the explorer of our current database that we just created. Okay, now we need to run our Postman. Okay, I just created the two of them. First of all, we need to add the user. So send, and we got the ID from our user. That is created inside our database. I'll just reload the website in the meantime and check if there is a possibility to add the product. And here we simply just add the product. Username will be provided as it should over there. I will just show you briefly that everything works. So the user ID exists inside our database. So one service is working as it should. Then we're going to send error in adding products. And what's your error, my friend? You need to get the data from the database. Okay, I guess I have to rerun the code, yeah, or not? Yeah, I will just rerun that application. And I need a node. Save it, node arm.js. Wait a few seconds. Connect it to database. Going back to our Postman. Going back here. Send again. And everything's work as it should. So whenever I will just change the user ID, there's a problem. But whenever I just go to the products, we've got everything's work as it should. And that's how we create quite easy microservices that you can expand later on. You can add more, for example, one for validation, one for adding the, maybe not adding, but managing the shipments, adding shipments. It's up to you. There's the world of microservices. There's the world of microservices that you can explore and get a lot from it. So stay tuned and see you at the next episodes. Bye.